We have heard that jerking off is something totally typical, yet how much and how often a day might you do it without being viewed as addicted? Consider the possibility that you can't stop. How about we answer these inquiries and why you ought to stop today with this act that appears to be ordinary but conceals a snare for your life? Before we start, I might want to apologize for the exaggerated cover, but I needed to cause you to notice this 21st century issue that debilitates and harms our youngsters and grown-ups, leaving us without resolution. In this video, you will comprehend what befalls our cerebrum logically and rationally and what emotionlessness needs to show us this bad habit. Likewise, make sure to subscribe to our channel and activate the bell so you miss nothing. Now, we should begin. Current medication is very clear in expressing that masturbation is totally typical in humans, as well as confirmed in canines and different vertebrates. Yet, this perspective on ordinary masturbation was not always so. In the past, masturbation was believed to be immoral, especially in men, because it was seen as a wasteful use of reproductive potential. For women, it was believed that masturbation could separate them from men by providing pleasure on their own, without help. To this moral weight was added the actual weight, stating that masturbation caused illnesses, so it was not advisable to practice it at all. But let's return to the present. What do we know about its effects, particularly for men experiencing insomnia? It is known that it can lead to sleep. The French Institute of Health and Medical Research concluded that the male brain deactivates sexual desire after climax. The cerebral cortex, the area responsible for conscious thought, goes to rest once the man reaches a peak. This, along with nullifying the desire to keep having sexual relations, facilitates sleep. Hence, many men fall asleep after sexual activity. But what is the problem? One of its well-known advantages is a trap, and if you frequent this channel, you will see what I'm referring to. Masturbation releases dopamine in your brain. This chemical is responsible for making us feel good, providing calm, stress reduction, and a sense of reward. This is caused by dopamine and is so pleasurable that certain individuals become addicted. The Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders included in 2017 a new issue called hypersexuality disorder. This classifies excessive masturbation under the category of obsessive-compulsive disorder, another vice that leads to mental and familial destruction. Generally, you will not be able to control yourself, and you become a captive to yourself, a victim of need and lack of control. Consequently, you seek relationships with prostitutes, sex with various individuals, and, as we have seen in a previous video, excessive use of pornography. These are ways that a dopamine-saturated brain finds to get pleasure. Addiction to masturbation comes from chemicals produced in the brain, and as our brain adapts to their release, it craves to continuously find the stimuli that generated the excitement. Your brain will start demanding more and more dopamine to achieve the same pleasure it had the first time. You will always need to continue looking for how to masturbate again. This reaches an exaggerated point when your brain realizes that the release of dopamine is excessive and begins to block receptors to try to stop you. Thus, the individual performs the pleasure act, in this case, masturbates, but gets nothing, which frustrates them more than they were before. Unnecessarily masturbating to satisfy that craving for pleasure is exactly what a smoker who never quits, someone who eats chocolate until vomiting, or even a drunkard does. Right now, you must be thinking, what does Stoicism have to do with this? The Stoics, such as Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, and Epictetus, masters of self-control and wisdom, addressed the perspective of pleasure and desire from an exceptional viewpoint. From the expressions of Epictetus to the contemplations of Seneca, they explored the depths of human passions, a legacy that still captivates us. For the Stoics, masturbation was not only a quest for lustful fulfillment, but also an opportunity to explore the limits of the body and mind. They saw it as a practice in mindfulness and a way to true freedom. In their philosophy, control over common interests and delights was a triumph that elevated the human soul. Epictetus declared that it is not nights of pleasure but self-restraint that distinguishes a good man. In this context, the ability to enjoy pleasure while understanding and containing it makes a difference in someone who has reached a higher level of self-awareness. Rather than being captives to our desires, we should be their masters. As Seneca reminds us with his philosophical perspective, Stoic reflection on masturbation is not just about suppression but about deep understanding and discipline. This translates into the ability to direct our emotions towards a journey of conscious self-exploration. It resides in not just transient satisfaction but also in understanding, accepting, and embracing our deepest tendencies. According to the Stoic viewpoint, Every action has consequences for us and for the natural order of the universe. When we succumb to our most powerful desires, as in the case of uncontrolled masturbation, we lose that harmonious connection with nature that the Stoics highly valued. We become prisoners of our longings, drifting away from true inner serenity. Urgent masturbation can trigger a profound turmoil within us, where guilt, shame, and disappointment become constant companions. The Stoics teach us to grasp our extreme emotions through mindfulness and self-regulation. By deliberately facing our feelings, we learn to manage them calmly and efficiently. Nevertheless, the Stoics encourage us to find peace within ourselves. True satisfaction lies in our self-control and our ability to find joy in what is simple and virtuous. Allow me to share a personal inspirational story. I know someone who used to struggle with compulsive masturbation, seeking fleeting solace and joy but facing a deep storm after each act. By immersing themselves in Stoic teachings and practicing self-restraint and self-regulation, this person underwent a profound transformation. They learned to confront their desires and emotions consciously, finding true happiness in self-control. They now live a life of inner peace and authenticity, free from the bondage of fleeting desires. True satisfaction comes from living according to our deepest principles and values. When we honor temporary desires, we lose sight of what we truly value in life. Compulsive masturbation can divert us from our noblest purposes and lead us away from the true fulfillment found in virtue and inner peace. By practicing meditation and mindfulness, we can cultivate the mental tranquility needed to resist temptations and face our emotions calmly. This impulse becomes a barrier to mental serenity, dragging us into regrets and steering us away from the tranquil peace found in self-restraint and balance.